Hey everyone, so this is Elementary Season 5, Episode 12, called Crowned Clown, Downtown Brown. The episode starts off with Joan talking to Marcus about how her stepfather had based several of his novels on her and Sherlock without asking them first, and thus used an alias on the cover. So Joan's stepfather wants to, start to use someone who works in the police department for his next book. And Marcus agrees. Jonah notices that he has a date with Chantal. He find out it's it's Marcus's third date with her. And the reason he didn't want to say anything is because he didn't want to jinx it. Later, Chantal, calls, says she can't make it. She got placed with the case at the or not really placed with the case, but she got pretty much all the information, a lot of information about a certain case she's working at the last second, and has to cancel. As Marcus leaves, he gets bumped into by this guy that we later find out is Roy Booker, and it's clearly on purpose. And he tries to offer the guy a new drink, but the guy's like, I don't want a new drink, I want that drink. I'm like, what? Just shut up. Anyway, so the guy doesn't take the offer and starts to fight. Elsewhere, two guys chase after a clown. Turns out, well, first, before I go into that, there's the clown that the guys are chasing disappears, and they find a second clown buried under some leaves, who's dead. The next day, turns out, when Sherlock goes to the crime scene and talks with the sheriff, Malik, he finds out that the clown that they were there for at that moment has been dead for 36 hours. So it couldn't have been the clown that two guys were chasing after. The two guys that were chasing after the clown are two citizens patrolmen, and they got the call that a clown was lurking around the middle school around 10 p.m. And when they checked it out, the clown made his way into the woods, and that's where they are. That's why they're there now. The one that is buried was most likely killed with a crowbar, and since the second clown was running through the woods, and this one happened to be killed in the woods. Sherlock wants to know what's on the other side of the woods. Chantal then goes to see Marcus. She tells Marcus she knows about the whole fight that he had at the bar the previous night, and she tells him that the guy that he had a fight with was her ex-husband, Roy Booker. And she gets mad because Marcus took the bait her ex-husband was putting out. Which, I mean, it's not really his fault. Like, he didn't know that was happening, what was going on at the time, so you can't be mad at him for something he didn't fucking know. Anyway, so they bring this guy named River, who was the second clown that was running away. River had used his credit card at a metro station on the other side of the woods, from the town that the woods are next to, called Mount Pleasant. Though the guy tries to, deny it at first, and it's like, we know that you were the one who wore the clown suit. So it's like, okay, fine. That was me, but I didn't kill the clown in the woods because I was in Pittsburgh visiting my girlfriend at the time and didn't get back to say till the previous morning. And he says that her roommates can, vouch for that. And we come to find out that the clown in the guy in the clown suit is named Kip Tully. He explains that he and Kip would, dress up as creepy clowns for a company called Adrupt, and what he and Kip do is called prank advertising. It's to help promote a movie called Mr. Mangles. Anyway, so Sherlock, pulls Joan and Gregson outside privately, to tell him something that he just looked up on his phone. He says that Kip Tully doesn't exist, because he searched for the company redrumed. Turns out Kip's real name is Dale Schmidt. Dale was writing about the clown sightings for a big scoop, apparently. Anyway, so Marcus, Joan, and Sherlock go to redrumed to tell the owner there, Jerry Bice, that Kip was murdered and his real name was Dale. They also revealed that they knew Dale wrote an article about redrumed and how they exploit their pranksters by paying them under the table so they wouldn't have access to the company's health plan. They think that Bice killed Dale because Dale was planning on writing another piece on redrumed. Bice's like, you know what? Dale was working on another piece, and I knew that he would work on another piece because I'm the one who told him to write about it. And the piece that Dale was working on is a retraction about the previous article about how we don't treat our employees right. Dale says that Bice says that the article that Dale was working on was stored on a cloud drive, and he agrees to give them the username and password for it. Back at home, Joan comes home and Sherlock reveals that Bice is looking less like a suspect after reading through the article Dale was working on. Sherlock then realizes that Dale's phone uploaded photos to the cloud automatically, and there are photos of a place not too far from where his body was found. Later at the place where the photos were taken, Marcus thinks Dale saw something he shouldn't have and got killed for it. Sherlock then explains to Marcus that he knows what happened with Booker, and Marcus says he's more worried for Chantal since she's working on a case about a woman who was married for about a year to her husband and is accused of killing her husband, then inheriting God, I can't talk right now, $750,000, and Chantal is working first chair as the lead ADA on the case. Her boss is worried that what happened with the exes is storming into her office the morning after the whole fight with Marcus will affect her ability to put away the woman for murder, and now Marcus is worried what he did will cause her trouble. Sherlock then notices some indentations that he thinks were made by a hose, and then finds a manhole. The manhole leads to New York's drinking water, and on the rungs leading down to the water, Sherlock finds liquid nutrient growth medium that are good for spreading viruses and bacteria are on the rungs, and they figure out that someone was pouring stuff into the city's water supply, and Dale saw it happening, then got killed for it. Sherlock then advises Marcus to call the proper authorities to have the drinking water shut off immediately. So Special Agent Breslin from Homeland Security and Wendell Hecht from Water Integrity come in. And basically, the water from the tainted aqueduct made its way to Yonkers, but they were able to turn off the valves before it made its way into any of the homes. Problem is, the bug has made its way past both security and measurements. Security measurements, the chlorine treatment, and the ultraviolet purification. And Breslin says he won't say much of anything else, including who he thinks was responsible. Back home, Joan has collected the video from the bar Booker supposedly frequents all the time, and Marcus and is pretty convinced Booker wasn't there by coincidence. Joan also tells Sherlock that she gave his glove the chemical compound on it to a friend of hers and found out that it was a virus, but not one she has seen before. Joan's friend hasn't ruled out that the virus was naturally made the way it is, but she thinks that Joan's friend thinks that the lab thinks it was lab made to get past city's water safeguards. Then Sherlock thinks the killer was a lone wolf who has a singular vision, Jones says creating the superbug would, require a lot of expertise or a lot of money. There can't be a lot of people who would have both the desire and means to poison 8 million people. Sherlock thinks that it might be a woman named Grace Van Violent, who is a grandchild, like a great grandchild of the 17th century Dutch explorer. Her net worth is in the very high 8 figures, but it's also an agoraphobic, and her family, as you know, her family's, I guess popularity wealth has gone downhill quite a bit within the last century. Um, Long story short, her family had, or she specifically has made several short manifestos online, has looked up ways to kill off the entire population, took her family's wealth, but doesn't look like she took any actual action, made any actual action to do any of this. She has had communication with like-minded individuals, but it just seems like it's a coincidence later on. Sherlock has committed the silhouette, the man in Dale's photo to memory, and believes he found the man responsible in one of her medical journals. And it's of the man named Raymond Thorpe, who is a chief virologist. Joan then meets up with Chantal to talk. Joan tells Chantal that Booker told Marcus the bar they were at was his usual hangout. But when Jones asked around at the bar, in the bar itself, they told her that the night Booker was there was the first time that he's ever been there. Joan then asks why Booker isn't a cop any longer, and they don't say why, but they make Joan ask that anyway. At the lab, Marcus and Sherlock get told that Raymond hasn't been in for the past week because of a family emergency. They show Raymond's colleague that he really did make a superbug and kill it, and was ready and willing to kill innocent people, looks like, or even more innocent people. First Sherlock thinks that given that Raymond made it so easy to find his work on the computer he uses at work, he's probably left the city. His colleague then says, well, Raymond didn't make the virus, but what doesn't make sense is that the bug is non-lethal. And all it would do would give people mild gastrointestinal bug, so basically would make people have diarrhea and need to go to the bathroom several times a day. So why did he go through all the trouble of killing the man and making the virus in the first place if it only made people go to the bathroom? Basically is the big question. They then tell this to Agent Breslin and Hecht. Breslin makes light of what he's told, but Hecht says that millions of children die from diarrhea each year in developing countries, so him making this virus is most likely why he did it. Breslin then asked if Violent had any involvement, but like I said earlier, we come to find out that it was just a coincidence that she had come into contact with people who are like-minded like her, and had the medical journal of Raymond. So Breslin then reveals that the story was leaked to the press and that they had a near miss with the water supply. Sherlock then reveals to Joan that a reporter in a tabloid magazine has written an article about how if someone creates enough panic about a superbug in the water, the EPA would have to shut down the system. The water have to go through and would have to, implement they would have to implement a filtration system to do it within 24 hours, which would cost billions of dollars. Let's see. Marcus then tells Joan that Raymond bought a ticket to Montenegro 3 days prior and has already left the country. Montenegro doesn't have an extradition treaty with the U.S., but Joan's Joan's not really there for that reason, particularly. But she tells Marcus that Sherlock believes he knows the person who hired Raymond. Joan then tells Marcus that Booker wasn't at the bar the other night by accident. Booker works as an investigator to the defense attorney defending the woman Chantal was trying to put away for killing her husband, her husband of 1 year. And Booker apparently sweet-talked Chantal's assistant into telling him when and where Marcus and Chantal were meeting. Then defense attorney fled Chantal's office with paperwork right before she was supposed to leave, so she wouldn't be able to show up and allow Booker to cause the scene at the bar. Marcus then figures the defense attorney knows that his client would fare better with a big scary male ADA trying to attack her on the stand. So he had Booker make a scene the following morning after making at Chantal's office after making a scene with Marcus at the bar, so Chantal will be pulled off the case. Joan then says she has a plan to make things right. Sherlock is the guy who he thinks contacted Thorpe, but the guy says that overhauling the watershed is too much hassle and using the UV disinfection is cheaper and where he makes his money. So that's why that in effect pretty much makes him not a suspect. Sherlock then comes home with an epiphany and tells Joan that it would take years for the filtration system to be built, and in the meantime people would be so paranoid about the bug in the water they wouldn't want to make sure the bug would be filtered out of the water until it's built. And a person who patented a filter to put into homes would make billions with how many people would buy it. They bring Breslin Hecht back in and reveal that they know Hecht patented the filter, so they couldn't make any money with individual people alone. He hired Thorpe to scare the government to buy, so the government would buy the patent up and he would make millions, because then the government would put the filtration system, the individual filtration system into individual homes, and until the actual filtration system was built. They tell him that they told the Montenegro officials that Thorpe had a virus, but failed to tell them that it wasn't lethal. So Thorpe is on his way back, and Hecht has the chance to make the first deal. Marcus then goes to Booker and tells him that he knows he lied about tearing his rotator cuff when right before he left the force, because that's how he ended up leaving the force. Was saying that his rotator cuff was, one of his rotator cuffs was torn, and so he was able to collect his pension early. Marcus says if you don't leave both me and Chantal alone forever, the video Booker will being able to use his rotator cuff just fine on its way to the department, which would at the very least launch an investigation into him. And if found credible, he would have to pay all the money that he took from his pension, and already took from his pension and everything. So and then he leaves, and that's it for 2 weeks. So I don't know what's gonna happen in 2 weeks on Elementary, so we'll have to see. But until then, I'll see you guys next week, or in 2 weeks on Elementary. Bye.